Welcome back to ABA Chapter Chat.
Great to be back.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into supporting pre-academic skills for all children. That's Chapter 5 from Applied Behavior Analysis in Early Childhood Education. And our mission today, well, it's really about pulling out the most important, actionable insights from this chapter.
Getting to the practical stuff.
Yeah, helping you cut through the noise to understand current effective practices in teaching pre-academic skills.
Exploring those clear examples you can actually use.
Right. Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start by tackling some, well, common misconceptions about early learning that the chapter brings up.
Yeah, like the idea that young kids just aren't ready for sophisticated content.
Or that just sending them to preschool is, enough.
Right. And what's fascinating here is how these myths, these widespread ideas, can actually hold a child back.
Inadvertently, yeah.
Yeah, inadvertently prevent them from reaching their full potential. The chapter really stresses that setting a child up for success, it begins with good teaching.
Not just exposure.
Exactly. Intentional, evidence-based instruction. It goes beyond just being there.
So the material frames teaching in a blended classroom, mixing play, explicit instruction as both an art and a science. That's a really interesting way to put it. What does that actually mean for an educator on the ground?
Well, it's a science because, it requires deep knowledge. Child development, behavior management, understanding how learning works.
The mechanics of it.
Right. But it's an art in the teacher's ability to weave all that knowledge together.
Okay.
Think of like a master chef. They know the science of the ingredients, but the art is how they combine them.
To create something amazing.
Exactly. To create a rich, safe, playful environment that still has academic rigor. A classroom with intentional stations for pre-literacy science, math, art.
It's not just about looking nice.
No, it's a masterpiece of research and creativity. Every element has a purpose.
The chapter also makes a really powerful point.
Mm-hmm.
Early childhood settings are, just by their nature, inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So why is that inclusive approach so fundamentally critical today for educators, for ABA pros?
Well, it raises a really important question for everyone in the field. And the data demands our attention.
What does it show?
About 1 in 6 children aged 3 to 17 has a developmental disability. That was CDC back in 2022.
Wow, 1 in 6.
And we're seeing rising trends in conditions like autism spectrum disorder. Now it's about 1 in 44 children.
So educators just have to be equipped?
They absolutely must be. This means altering instruction, modifying assignments, not as some kind of exception, but as standard practice.
And the benefit?
It's a richer learning environment for everyone. Diversity is seen as a strength, not a hurdle.
That sounds like a huge demand on teachers, though. Maybe even overwhelming sometimes.
It is. It's significant.
What specific challenges does the chapter highlight for educators trying to navigate all these diverse needs?
Exactly. Teachers have to acknowledge that later learning, it builds so heavily on early learning.
And catching up is hard.
Incredibly difficult, yeah. And factors like limited home resources, poor nutrition, even trauma, they can make the classroom the only place some students get quality instruction.
That really highlights the responsibility, doesn't it?
Yeah. Immense responsibility for the early childhood educator, for the ABA professional, reaching all children, providing that foundation when it's most critical.
Okay, speaking of making it work, the chapter opens with a great case scenario about Lisa.
Ah, yes, Lisa.
A new teacher, inclusive preschool, getting rave reviews from her principal. Her students were engaged, responsive, transitions were smooth.
She sounds like a rock star.
Totally. So what might have been the key to her success? How does her experience kind of set the stage for the strategies in this chapter?
Well, Lisa's background was key, right? Dual licensure in early childhood and special ed.
Plus that coursework in behavior analysis and direct teaching methods.
Exactly. It gave her a really robust toolkit. And her principal specifically asked, how did you make instructional time so valuable?
Right. How did she blend the direct instruction with free play? How did she foster that active learning?
And those are precisely the kinds of practical strategies this chapter helps us understand and apply. Lisa really embodies these principles in action.
Okay, so let's dig into some of those principles. The term developmentally appropriate practices, DAP, comes up a lot.
It's a cornerstone, yeah.
Can you help us define that in simple terms? What is DAP in early childhood?
Absolutely. So DAP, it was coined by NAEYC, the National Association for the Education of Young Children, way back in '86.
Right.
And it basically describes instructional practices that optimize learning for all children. Think of it like building a bridge, from preschool to elementary school.
Bridging that gap.
Yeah. It focuses on teaching to the student's current level, making sure those prerequisite skills are solid.
Recognizing individual differences.
Exactly. Recognizing that every child develops differently at their own pace and supporting the whole child socially, emotionally, cognitively, physically.
Meeting them where they are.
Precisely.
Now, NAEYC adapted that definition, didn't they, in 2009? What drove that change?
Yeah, they did. The main driver was the increasing diversity in classrooms.
More immigrants, English language learners.
Right. And a noticeable increase in children identified with special needs. So the updated DAP really emphasizes building on prerequisite skills.
Still key.
Still absolutely key, recognizing varied developmental rates and also what they call splinter skills.
Splinter skills, what are those?
That's where a child might be like way ahead in one area, maybe math, but significantly delayed in another, like social skills. DAP acknowledges that unevenness.
I get it.
And it also champions blending approaches, teacher-directed, child-directed, play-based, and seeing these early years as absolutely foundational for later success.
Makes sense. And the Division of Early Childhood, DAC, they also weigh in.
They do. Both NAEYC, especially with their more recent updates, and DAC really emphasize a strengths-based approach.
What does that look like?
It means identifying each child's unique strengths and preferences first. Then you target specific skills, but you do it within natural, inclusive environments.
Using data.
Always using data to inform decisions. Providing tiered supports for all students at risk, ELLs, those with delays. Embedding instruction across routines, playtime.
For generalization.
Exactly. Using explicit feedback, peer support. It's this framework that mixes direct instruction with self-directed and guided play and brings in universal design for learning, UDL, principles.
Ensuring multiple ways for kids to engage and learn.
You got it.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. The chapter makes a distinction between direct instruction, capital D, capital I, and direct instruction, lowercase d, lowercase I.
Ah, yes. An important distinction.
Can you clarify that for us? Why does it matter?
Sure. So DI with the capital letters usually refers to specific, often published instructional programs. Think things like the Bereiter and Engelmann curricula from the 60s, or even a whole school-wide model.
It's like a specific brand name?
Kind of, yeah. Highly structured programs. But DI with lowercase letters, which is what this chapter mostly focuses on, that refers to general, teacher-directed teaching techniques.
So a style of teaching.
Exactly. A specific approach or style, often really effective, but not tied to one specific curriculum package you buy. Understanding this means you can apply the principles of DI in lots of different settings.
Okay, so we've defined lowercase di. Now, if you had to boil it down, what makes this approach so powerful in practice? Are there common misunderstandings?
Right. Well, when we look at what makes DIs really effective, the chapter highlights a few things that honestly are kind of game changers but sometimes get missed.
Like what?
First, it's about obsessive precision in planning. I mean, really clear lesson goals and almost like a forensic attention to prerequisite skills.
Mapping it all out.
Totally. If a child doesn't have skill A, they can't possibly get skill B. This framework forces you to map that out. Lisa probably had this down cold.
Okay, precision planning. What else?
Second, and this often surprises people, is the constant high-frequency interaction and rapid feedback.
So it's not a lecture.
Definitely not. It's dynamic. A back and forth, giving kids dozens of chances to respond, and correcting errors immediately, right there in the moment.
Building that academic muscle memory.
Exactly. Identifying and closing gaps super quickly. And third, data isn't just for, end-of-unit tests. It's for daily navigation.
Like a GPS for teaching.
That's a great way to put it. Simple data sheets show exactly where each student is, what adjustments you need to make right now, not weeks later.
And the misunderstanding.
Often that it's authoritarian or rigid, but it's actually highly structured to empower students to set them up for success.
Okay, that's a really helpful framing. So the chapter outlines that clear three-phase approach. I do, we do, you do. Let's break down I do, where the teacher models. What needs to happen before the teacher even starts modeling?
Okay, before I do, two critical things. First, prerequisites. You have to check.
Like with Lisa teaching the letter R.
Exactly. She'd quickly check. Does the child have a pincer grip? Can they orient the paper? Do they know basic lines? And because classrooms are so diverse...
You might need multiple examples?
Right, like showing different breeds of dogs for the concept dog. You need to make sure everyone has a successful starting point. That really aligns with UDL, helps with generalization.
Okay, prerequisites checked. What's second?
Attention. You must gauge student attention. Quick scan, like 15, 30 seconds. Are materials out? eyes on me, then reinforce the kids who are ready, positive praise. Class, I really like how many of you have your materials out. Eyes are on me. Sets the tone.
Got it. So prerequisites and attention are locked in. Now, the teacher models, what does effective modeling look like here?
It means showing the skill correctly step by step while clearly describing what you're doing.
Narrating the process.
Precisely. And using a direct statement like, today you are going to learn how to write the lowercase manuscript letter R, not asking, do you want to learn?
Because this is teaching time.
Right. It's instruction, not choice time. You show how to do it accurately, start to finish. Kids are often naturally inclined to imitate adults anyway.
Then the chapter brings in task analysis. Sounds technical.
It sounds more intimidating than it is. It just means breaking a complex skill into smaller, manageable steps.
Like a recipe.
Exactly like a recipe. And honestly, new teachers sometimes feel like it's overkill. Like, do I really need to write out every tiny step?
But it pays off.
It really pays off in clarity. It reduces student frustration immensely later on. So for writing, it might be.
Okay, give us the steps.
1, place paper. 2, pick up pencil, pincer grip. 3, touch pencil, tip to paper. 4, hold down. 5, draw a straight line down, back up 3/4, curve out right, smooth motion. 6, lift pencil.
Wow, detailed.
You can adjust the detail as kids get better, use visuals too. And you can teach it forward chaining start to finish or backward chaining finish to start. It's incredibly powerful for tricky skills.
Okay, now the chapter strongly emphasizes opportunities to respond OTRs during this direct instruction part. Why are OTRs so crucial?
OTRs massively increase engagement. They keep students actively involved, thinking, participating.
So they're less likely to drift off.
Much less likely to be off task. It builds in constant touch points.
And what's the surprising thing about instructional pacing?
Yeah, this is fascinating and often feels counterintuitive. Heward pointed out back in 2003 that faster-paced instruction can actually be more beneficial, especially for struggling learners.
Faster is better. Why?
Because it provides more OTRs, keeps attention focused, and prevents boredom. Slower instruction, surprisingly, can sometimes lead to kids checking out, even misbehaving.
Okay, that idea of faster pacing is genuinely surprising. But what are the hurdles for a teacher trying to pull that off in a busy classroom? You don't want it to feel rushed, right? Especially for some kids.
That's a critical point. Yeah, the challenge is often classroom management and differentiation. Teachers worry, am I going to lose control or will some kids get left behind?
Right.
But the key isn't necessarily breakneck speed for everyone. It's more about a responsive pace that keeps the group engaged.
So how do you manage that?
This is where those quick OTR tools become absolutely essential. They let the teacher constantly check understanding across the group without grinding things to a halt.
Takes practice, I imagine.
It definitely takes practice and confidence from the teacher. But the payoff in sustained attention is huge.
So what are some practical, low-tech ways teachers can build in those OTRs? Make sure everyone gets involved.
Yeah, the chapter gives some great examples. For no tech, just signaling for questions works. Teacher selects different students, gives detailed answers, keeps the lesson flowing while checking individuals.
Okay.
Another great no tech is choral responding. The whole class or small groups respond together in unison.
Gives you a quick pulse check.
Exactly. For low-tech, response cards are fantastic. Pre-printed yes-no, true-false, maybe simple ABC cards, or even those little individual whiteboards for older kids.
So everyone responds visually.
Right. The teacher can see instantly where the whole class is. Even the quiet kids get their voice heard. The key, though, is teaching the routine explicitly first.
Kids need to know how and when to use them.
Definitely.
That integration of OTRs is so smart. Thinking back to Lisa's classroom again, how might she have woven these in? Maybe during those intentional stations.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great connection. Lisa, with her background, she'd likely be a pro at this.
Give us an example.
Okay, maybe at a pre-literacy station, she has letter cards. She quickly models a sound, what letter makes the R sound, and kids respond chorally or flash their R card.
Quick and targeted.
Yeah. Or during a quick whole group check before rotating stations, is this a number or a letter? Kids flash yes-no cards. They're not big disruptive things, just quick embedded checks.
Keeps the energy up, keeps everyone tracking.
Exactly. It's all about that purposeful design.
So how do we wrap up the I do phase effectively? Make the learning stick.
You want to end with, Positive remarks, any necessary corrective feedback, and then crucially, discuss the relevance of the skill.
Connected to their world.
Yes, link it to their interests, like connecting the letter R to red or stop signs, or maybe even Lightning McQueen if that's what they love.
Makes it meaningful.
Makes it meaningful and motivating, helps solidify why they learned this thing.
Okay, that's I do. Now we do guided practice.
Okay.
The chapter talks about scaffolding and prompts. Can you define prompts for us?
Sure, prompts are basically just additions to a task that help the learner succeed.
Like training wheels.
Exactly like training wheels. Or maybe a hand on the back of the bike seat. They can range from a slight reminder, like a gesture, all the way to full physical guidance.
How does the teacher know what level to use?
They assess the individual student's needs and strengths. Maybe visual aids are needed, like paper with dashed lines for writing R. It's about giving just enough support for success without doing it for them.
Okay, and the chapter describes two main prompting sequences. Most to least, MTL, and least to most, LTM.
Right.
What's the difference? When would you use each one in a classroom like Lisa's?
Okay, let's use that bike analogy again. Most to least, MTL is like starting with full training wheels and holding the seat.
Maximum support first.
Maximum support. For writing R, maybe full hand-over-hand guidance. Then you gradually fade, take off the training wheels, partial physical, then just gestural, then just remind verbally.
Reduces errors.
Dramatically reduces errors, yeah. But it can be slower, more teacher-intensive.
And least to most.
Least to most, LTM starts with minimal help. Maybe just a verbal reminder. Okay, remember, line down first, let the child try.
And only step in if needed.
Exactly. Only move to more intrusive prompts. A gesture, a light touch, maybe full physical if they struggle.
So which one is better?
It depends. Depends on the student. Are they prone to prompt dependency? How do they react to touch? What prerequisites do they have? Research shows similar learning rates, actually.
But MTL might lead to fewer errors initially.
It might, yeah, if you have the time for that initial high support.
Why is it so critical to get the prompting right, and especially the fading of prompts?
It's crucial for two reasons. One, you don't want the student to learn the skill incorrectly. Two, you don't want them becoming dependent on the prompt.
The prompt becomes part of the skill for them.
Exactly. Prompts are temporary supports, like crutches. The goal is independence. Fade too quickly, you get errors and frustration. Fade too slowly or use them incorrectly. And the student learns to rely on the prompt, which requires way more effort to fix later.
Finding that sweet spot.
That's the goal, finding that sweet spot for fostering true independence.
The chapter draws that interesting analogy between academic learning and sports here in the we do phase.
It's a great analogy, just like athletes build muscle memory and fluency through drills, through guided practice.
Students build academic fluency.
Right, they build fluency and confidence and new skills through that guided, reinforced practice. That solid I do, we do foundation is so important before you ask them to do it alone.
Ensures the skill is accurate, they feel confident.
Ready to try it independently.
Okay, which brings us to phase 3. You do. Independent practice. This is where students show what they know, right?
Yeah.
But what are the unique challenges here for teachers, especially with diverse learners?
Well, the you do phase is tricky because suddenly the student is kind of captain of their own ship.
And the environment is full of distractions.
Exactly. All those interesting things in the classroom, a friend's drawing, a cool toy, they directly compete with the academic task.
The teacher has to vie for attention.
That's a perfect way to put it. As the teacher's direct instruction fades, they have to compete. The student is making an independent choice to stay on task, and other things can easily look way more appealing.
Like trying to do homework at a party.
Pretty much.
So how can teachers, like Lisa, create situations that motivate kids to put in high effort during independent work, especially with all those distractions?
Yeah, motivation is key here.
Yeah.
The chapter offers some really great practical strategies, essential tools for the toolkit.
What are they?
First, antecedent controls. Basically, design the environment and the task so staying on task is more appealing than the distractions. Environmental arrangement is huge.
Set them up for success beforehand.
Exactly. Second, behavioral momentum.
How does that work?
You design worksheets or tasks to start with easy wins. Build success, then gradually increase the difficulty. Success itself is reinforcing.
Keep the momentum going.
Right. You can even intersperse harder questions with easier ones to maintain that flow. Mace and colleagues talked about this back in '88.
Okay, antecedent controls, behavioral momentum. What else?
And third, a really powerful one. choice menus.
Giving kids choices.
Yeah, allowing students some choice in their independent work significantly boosts on-task behavior. Teachers can create simple, visual choice menus.
Like choose the order of tasks.
Or choose between two similar assignments. It addresses teacher concerns about losing control because you set the choices, but it empowers the student.
Gives them ownership.
Huge sense of ownership and boosts motivation.
Okay, so after they finish their independent work, how does the teacher bring it all back together? Reinforce the learning.
You can end with a fun, related activity that reinforces the day's topic. Connect it back to the I do phase.
Like the right example.
Exactly. After practicing writing R, maybe they color a picture of a red stop sign and you ask questions about it. What does R say? Where do you see stop signs?
Reinforces the skill, maximizes reinforcement.
And ties learning to everyday life. Makes it meaningful, memorable, creates a nice closing loop.
The chapter also mentions skill maintenance and reteaching. How do we make sure skills stick long-term?
Right, because learning isn't usually a one-and-done thing, is it?
Definitely not with young kids.
For skills to really stick, practice needs to be frequent enough. If they don't get consistent practice or if they haven't quite reached fluency, well, you might need to reteach it later.
Which leads us right into assessment.
Precisely. That ongoing assessment piece is absolutely critical.
So what's the difference between formative and summative assessments? And why is formative so key in early childhood?
Okay, so summative assessments are typically your end-of-unit tests, end-of-year exams. They give you that big picture overview, like a final grade.
A summary.
A summary, yeah. Formative assessments are different. They're frequent, quick checks, little snapshots of progress as it's happening.
Allows for adjustments.
Exactly. They let teachers adjust strategies, differentiate instruction right there in the moment, which is critical for young learners whose skills are changing so fast.
Like taking vital signs constantly.
That's a great analogy. You make immediate adjustments based on the vitals. You don't wait for the big year-end physical to find out there's a problem.
Okay. The chapter highlights curriculum-based measurements. CBMs, what are those? How do they differ from other assessments?
CBMs, think of them as quick, targeted health checks for specific skills, like a 1 to 5 minute mini quiz focused just on the skill you're teaching right now.
Like letter recognition or counting.
Exactly. They're standardized, so you can track progress reliably over time. And because they're so brief and frequent, teachers get immediate feedback. Is my teaching working for this skill for this child?
Let's you adjust today, not next month.
Right. Unlike broader curriculum-based assessments, CBAs, which might cover a wider range, CBMs are laser-focused on one skill. Makes them super useful for monitoring progress or seeing if an intervention needs tweaking.
So once we have the CBM data, how do we use it effectively?
Graphing. Graphing is absolutely key.
Why graphs?
Because it lets teachers visually see the progress, those incremental gains, the highs, the lows. It makes it clear if students are on track towards their goals.
What goes on the graph?
Typically, you'll have a goal line, an aim line showing the expected progress, and the student's actual data points. A clear legend, too, like in the figures in the chapter.
And this visual helps with decisions.
Hugely. It makes it so much easier to make informed instructional decisions. When to push ahead, when to review, maybe change tactics. Plus, it's great for showing progress to students, parents, admin.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into supporting pre-academic skills for all children, what are the big takeaways?
Well, we've definitely seen that high-quality early childhood is paramount, right?
Yeah, pushing past those myths, embracing that inclusive blended approach, marrying the art and science of teaching.
And we've really unpacked the power of direct instruction, that practical I do, we do, you do framework.
Exploring those essential strategies, OTRs, careful prompting, keeping motivation high with things like behavioral momentum and choice.
And we absolutely cannot forget the critical role of ongoing formative assessment, using that data to constantly guide what we do.
The chapter suggests this blend: explicit instruction, lots of OTR, student choice, data checks, plus free play could really be the gold standard for early learning.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating there is the recognition that it's not about choosing one philosophy over another.
It's not either.
No. When these powerful evidence-based ABA strategies are used thoughtfully, alongside more traditional early childhood approaches, the potential for student gains is just so much greater.
Building that robust, flexible toolkit for educators.
That's it, exactly.
So this chapter gives us a really comprehensive toolkit. But as we finish up, what do you think is maybe the single greatest challenge in practice? Finding that delicate balance between the explicit instruction and the discovery learning.
Hmm.
Keeping it fun, keeping it meaningful, motivating every student, especially in those really diverse classrooms. What's the biggest hurdle for you? Something for our listeners to think about, too.
That's a great question to end on, I think. I think maybe it's the art of truly seeing each individual child, understanding their unique profile of strengths and needs.
And then flexibly applying all these powerful strategies.
Yes, applying them flexibly to create an environment where every single learner can genuinely thrive. That constant, ongoing individualization, making the science truly an art.
That's the challenge.
That's the greatest challenge, I think, and also the greatest reward when you see it work.
A perfect place to leave it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We really hope you feel well equipped now to support the youngest learners in your life and work.